Do you accept that Hamas need to be removed from power in Gaza?
He's not going to say yes. It's such an easy yes. Hamas, we don't need like radical, like dictatorships. Okay, fine, but not like Islamic dictatorships. Can we get some secular dictatorship at least? Not like an Islamist radical jihadist party. It's so easy to say Hamas probably shouldn't be there, but he's not going to because it sounds too much like he's signing off on the Israeli war. Or maybe he'll surprise me. We'll see what he says. Or he'll do the ultimate tactic of the IDF is a larger terrorist organization than Hamas has ever been. The IDF is worse than Hamas ever. So if the IDF remains in power, then Hamas should. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what he says.
Need to be removed from power in Gaza.
I would say that the preeminent, excuse me, I would say that the preeminent question at the present moment ought to be, do I accept the fact that the Israeli government ought to be removed from power?
Well, hang on.
The Vyvanse gave me the ability to see into the future. That's why I like the Vyvanse so much. It lets me see only about like 20 minutes. Maybe as I take up my dose more, I'm on 250 milligrams per day right now. Maybe as I take more, I'll get more future sight. But
that's a different question. No, with respect, that's a different question. I can ask you that separately. But the specific question I have for you, particularly given what you said after October the 7th, is simply, should Hamas remain in power?
And should Hamas remain in power, I think that the Palestinian people should be able to determine their own future and determine their leadership. That's just a basic democratic
What is your
principle.
personal opinion?
No, I don't decide what people should do with their lives.
You've expressed many strong opinions about it. Hang on. I can do an interview, thank you. The problem I have with that response is you're very quick to level the charge of genocide at Israel, and many people would agree with you, many wouldn't. But you're not so keen to be held.
I can't believe he's giving pushback to Norm on this debate, and he let this guy yap on the most ad homs for like 20 minutes. What the
to account for your view about Hamas. And I don't see how anyone, after what they did on October the 7th, could possibly conclude they should stay in power.
Piers, I don't want to have to redo the interviews you did with me. I was very clear about my opinion when you asked about October 7th. I was also very clear as to what I believe Hamas should or shouldn't do regarding its leadership or its current power in Gaza. I've not tried to evade any of your questions.
For those who...
then why can't you just answer that? Just say like, hey, like, probably shouldn't have Hamas there, right?
For those who may not have seen the previous interviews, for those who may not have seen our previous conversations, I simply ask again.
That's fine.
It is a simple question. Should Hamas stay in power? Because Israel's whole argument is that they have to keep going with this warfare to eradicate Hamas. And my question for you is, do you think that in principle Hamas should stay in power?
Well, Piers, I'm going to answer you because I never fear the truth. And I'm not going to try to evade your question.
I only deal in facts.
Let's take a simple metric. We'll take the question of children killed.
Oh my God, answer the question. Should Hamas stay in power or not?
These are answers to different questions.
Just answer the question, Norm, for God's sake. You said you don't want to evade the truth. Should Hamas stay in power or not? Answer the question.
Piers, either you're going to moderate the program or...
Oh my God, but he's not going to answer it. Bro, it's such an easy question. How are you even debating on the level of this clown on the right? Shut him down. He was wrong on the ICJ. He should have crucified him. He should have made him stick that out. You're saying the ICJ ruled that there was no genocide? You're telling me they were able to ascertain that charge in 1 month, Rabbi? What a ridiculous claim. You should have raked him over the coals. Why is he not just answering this question?
There's honestly no point in continuing.
I do think it's I have to say, I do think it's a very simple question, and it goes right to the heart.
No, it's not.
It goes right to the heart of Israel's argument about why they are continuing to execute the war.
Piers, how about letting me decide whether it's a simple question? How about letting me decide?
Well, either Hamas stays in power or it doesn't, doesn't it? I don't think you have to be a professor to answer the question.
Piers, there's a difference between whether or not Hamas stays in power and whether Hamas should be in power. So let me get into the stays in power is a military question. Should be in power, well, let's look at it. I say if Hamas, which is responsible for the killings of 30...
He's going to give the numbers of people that Hamas has killed and say, if Hamas is responsible for this many deaths, and we're saying they should be removed from power, well, then the IDF, who's killed 29,000 civilians, should absolutely be removed from power first. Something like that. Here we go.
6 children on October 7th should not stay in power. Then you must certainly agree, Piers, and I'm going to kindly ask you to please answer me. You must surely agree, then, that Israel, which has killed now approximately 12,000 children
Yeah.
and is plausibly accused of having killed them in the course of a genocide. Now, I'm going to ask you, Piers, to
What is
please
your source for
answer
12,000
the
children? What's the source? What is your source, please?
Okay.
What's your source?
Well, it's the
Piers,
Palestinian
please
Health
He didn't even get to ask Piers the question while Finkelstein is dodging the question, and now this guy wants to fight over the sourcing of the debt, bro.
It's run by Hamas. We know that.
Run by Hamas. Wait.
No,
answer the
Rabbi
question,
Shmuley,
Norm.
you
You're a
don't
scholar.
interrupt. This is actually an important question and an important moment in the debate. Continue, Norman Finkelstein.
So I have to ask you, Piers, if you believe that Hamas should not stay in power because it killed 36 children on October 7th, then you must surely agree several times, 1,000 times more emphatically that the Israeli government should not be in power because it killed 12,000 children, not as collateral damage.
What would your response be to that Finkelstein argument if he wheels it out in your debate? It's just like, it's a stupid argument on so many different levels. The Israeli government has shown that it is capable of making peace with its neighbors, even neighbors that it historically had huge fights with. The Israeli government is held democratically responsible by its population, so at least there's some pressure there. The Israeli government responds to international pressure. They've shown it in the past historically, they've shown it in the modern conflict now. The Israeli government opens itself up to evaluations from other parties, whether it's people doing investigation. The Israeli government has literally, like people will say things in chat like, you trust Israel to look at itself and to audit itself, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, Haaretz is literally a left-leaning publication that is inside of Israel, like that a lot of you guys love site when it comes to talking about Israeli crimes in the West Bank and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, the idea, yes, I would trust the Israeli government 1 billion times more than Hamas, an Islamic jihadist, fundamentalist organization that answers to nobody, runs itself like a theocratic dictatorship, doesn't hold elections, doesn't respond to international pressure unless it's around training their troops or sending weapons to go kill Israeli citizens. Like, yeah, of course, like it's such an easy, yeah. Like with this level of question, like, well, should the U.S. government remain in power? Should the British government remain in power? Should literally any government anywhere in the entire world remain in power because they probably killed more people than Hamas? Such a stupid question.
But plausibly, according to 15 of the 17 judges on the highest judicial body in the world.
Okay, you said that point. Okay, here's my answer.
Plausibly,
here's my answer to you. Here's my answer.
And a genocide.
Here's my answer. You haven't so far answered my question. If you do, I will give you an emphatic answer to yours.
Ooh.
So let me just ask again, should Hamas stay in power?
My answer is...
Before he gives an answer, there is a good, complicated question, or complicated way to answer this question that is nuanced, takes into account the Palestinian plight, and satisfies the prompt that Piers has given, right? Well, should Hamas remain in power? That's complicated. Hamas was technically voted into power, right? If you don't like Hamas, okay, fine. Well, what about the Palestinian Authority? Because that's the counter government that you're championing. Well, guess what? Mahmoud Abbas also suspended elections. He hasn't been voted on either. So if you don't like Hamas, you must not like the PA either, because neither of these are democratically elected people. What happens if you get rid of Hamas, you hold elections, and then they elect Hamas again? Then what do, Piers? Like, do you deny elections to the Palestinian people? Are they not allowed to elect leadership? What if they want to have, like, a theocratic dictatorship, whatever, right? I mean, like, these are technically answers to satisfy this question, and they're more complicated and nuanced, but I don't know why, but you can answer these too. Any of these are satisfactory, I think, and they hint at a little bit of the complicatedness of the situation that is existing on the ground. I don't know why he wouldn't just wheel out any of these explanations, other than the fact that it would take him 10 minutes to, I guess, get through anything. I guess Finkelstein is about Platt, but Shmuley is definitely bronze-based.
My answer is, if we apply one standard
that's not an answer.
across the board...
No, that's not an answer.
If we apply one standard across the board, I am perfectly happy to say Hamas should be removed from power if you agree that several thousand times
you made that point.
more
Here's my answer.
emphatically the Israeli government should be removed from power.
I think
What does that even mean? The Israeli government should be, it's like every single member of the Knesset should be banned and then not allowed to run again? Or you dismantle the entire Israeli government? Or what does that mean?
There are two completely separate questions, and I would answer it like this.
No, they're not.
Well, I'm going to explain to you. I'm going to explain why I believe they are. They are.
I will listen.
Because Israel's response was a response to an appalling terror attack. I believed after October the 7th, Hamas rescinded any right to continue having any power over Gaza and should be removed. The only debate would then be how would that best be done. And I had serious question marks about Israel's response. In response to whether the current... Hang on. Let me finish my sentence, please. And in response to your question, Norman Finkelstein, about Israel's government, no, I do not believe they should continue, actually. I think this government has lost the faith of its people. I think Netanyahu in particular has lost all confidence and popularity with the Israeli people who blame him for what happened on October the 7th. And so, no, I don't think they should stay in power, actually. I think both countries should have new leadership and new governments. That's my answer. But again, I'll just come back to you. Hang on, I don't equivocate either with the other. You can divorce the two questions. You can say, after October the 7th, should Hamas stay in power?
Sound the incorrect use of equivocate alarm.
Yes or no, and then you can have a question mark about whether this current Israel government should stay in power because of the way they responded. They're two different questions. But you, Norman Finkelstein, so far, well, hang on, wait a second, Rabbi. I just want to get one answer out of Norman Finkelstein as to whether you will answer my question about whether Hamas should stay in power.
Piers, if you use a single standard across the board.
Why was it incorrect? Wait, why was what incorrect? My brain just wiped. This is.
Wait a second, Rabbi. Two different questions. But you, Norman Finkelstein, so far, well, hang on.
Why is the correct answer is Hamas? Also, the real true answer is Hamas shouldn't stay in power because you can't negotiate with Hamas. It's just not a good negotiating partner. It's just and they lost. And actually, wait. Pierce's answer was correct. I think it was Pierce's answer, right? That they lost the right to rule basically once they did that attack on October 7th. If you don't count any of the earlier actions, that probably removed any mandate that they would have had to be seen as like authentic rulers of a people. That's insane.
I just want to get one answer out of Norman Finkelstein as to whether you will answer my question about whether Hamas should stay in power.
Oh, why was the equivocate? Oh, when you equivocate on something, it means that you're mincing words basically. So like, let's say that my brother punches me and then my sister, flicks a piece of paper at me. And I go, I wouldn't equivocate my sister flicking paper at me with my brother punching me. That wouldn't be equivocate, that would be equating. But let's say that my brother punches me and then later on, we're getting into a fight and, he's like, oh, come on. All I did was tapped you earlier. I would say, tap me, you're equivocating. You didn't tap me, you punched me. That would be an equivocation. Yeah. You don't equivocate like two different things when you're equating them or comparing them. Equivocation is usually when you're trying to, hide from a particular mincing words. You're trying to obfuscate the severity of something. You're equivocate. You're downplaying. That's like equivocation, basically.
Piers, if you use a single standard across the board, then I accept your conclusion. So long as you're being morally as well as legally consistent, I have personally no problem with that conclusion. However, I would want to say, Piers, and I'm trying to be honest, but also intellectually consistent in this matter. You said the Hamas disqualified.
Yes, I would argue Finkelstein's whole career is based on equivocation. They've killed 12,000 children. Okay, what does that mean? Killed 12,000 children, because you're evoking the idea of 5-year-olds being killed. What's the age cutoff here, right? Are these fighting age, combatant people? Is it literally just children that are hiding in their cribs or they're under their mom's bosoms? What do we, when we're evoking this here, right? Would you consider that an equivocation? I think we consider that equivocation.
Fight itself from leadership because of the atrocity that was committed, or atrocities that were committed October 7th.
Yes.
Now, if you agree with the head of the National Security Council of Israel at the time in 2004, that Hamas is a huge concentration camp. I'm quoting him now.
Gaza, you mean?
Would you also agree that October 7th was a reaction to confining 1 million children in a concentration camp?
Like this, 1 million children.
Okay, Pierce, he's not answering your question. He never will. But Pierce, I have to.
All right, let me bring him Rabbi Smoothie, because he's been waiting patiently.
Okay.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.